I guess we're doing it. Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well, and it's time for our weekly track roundup, where I go over what I felt were the best and the worst tracks of the week. Hope everybody's doing well. Lights are adjusted. Flannel is on. I told you guys last week that slip mats, turntable slip mats, were available on the website, and they pretty much all sold out in the past week, so they're no longer available. Thank you guys for picking that up. Let's get right into just telling you guys that our Amazon Associates link is down there in the description box, along with our Turntable Lab link. Hit up some music, some whatever you want to spoil yourself with using those links down there in the description. No matter where you're living, for the most part, across the world now, you can use those links. Anything you buy on those sites, whether it be vinyl or some Christmas shopping, especially on Amazon if you're doing that Christmas shopping, we get kickback from it. Helps the channel, helps the segment. Does not add to your overall price. Used to buy some stuff you were going to buy anyway. All right, let's shout out the new Angel Olsen sort of B-sides collection, Phases. That is out now. I'm not planning on doing a formal review of it or anything like that because it's a mix of tracks that I've heard before and it's B-sides and all that. However, Angel Olsen, we enjoy her music over here at the Needle Drop. We want to support her. We think she does some good stuff. So make sure to not let this little collection of tracks slip by you if you are a singer-songwriter fan, Angel Olsen fan, whatever. All right, let's start off just by talking about the new Eminem single, new Eminem track. Eminem, legendary MC, legendary rapper, new album on the way, new single. He's already been making tons of waves over the past year or so with anti-Trump tracks and verses, that BET little freestyle that he did. That I thought was okay, is pretty good. I thought some people were a little too cynical approaching it because, why are you making a political track? He's not saying anything we haven't heard before. But I think some of what he said needed to be said, regardless. So he's got this new Walk on Water track. Now, for everybody who's been groaning about Eminem trying to be political and trying to get attention by being political with his most recent verses and features and so on and so forth, this is a track that is purely about him. This is purely about Eminem. Walk on Water is just about Eminem, and from a very personal standpoint. And not that Eminem hasn't gotten personal before in his music, he most certainly has, but this is a personal side of Eminem that we haven't seen before because Eminem is now kind of in the third act of his career. He's far beyond the heyday of his rap career. He's far beyond a lot of the worst records that came out during his second act. And now, like many other rappers who were his contemporaries in the 90s and 2000s, he's now finding himself less relevant. He's finding himself with so much more in the way of just age and distance between those most classic records of his. He's finding his fan base waning. He's finding this new generation of listeners are not quite as passionate about his music as he once found people to be. As he mentions in this track, he used to have the world kind of eating out of his palm. These days, he gets frowned on, clowned on, so on and so forth. And this track sort of forgoes drums, forgoes anything in terms of any heavy, direct, hard-hitting hip-hop beat in favor of just some strings, some pianos, and Beyoncé very angelically singing this pretty beautiful chorus. Definitely one of the better guest-sung choruses that Eminem has had in a while, in my opinion. Right up there with some of his best with Rihanna and so on and so forth. This is definitely one of the better guest-sung choruses on his tracks, which a lot of the time end up being a little too overdone or too ritzy or just too much of a contrast from his typically gritty, hard, aggressive, and straightforward style. This was a nice change of pace from that. But though not so much so. I think Eminem sort of bent a little bit to the style and the vibe of the song because it is a very personal track. There are a lot of moments on the track where he does seem to be vocally more vulnerable than usual, though toward the beginning of the song, he still does come through with that very erratic start-stop staccato, which I don't think typically or really truly pairs with the instrumental that he has going on here. However, once I got more into the lyrical tone of the song, what actually he was saying, it felt like the marriage was a little better. It felt like the combination made a bit more sense. Overall, I like the theme of the track. There are some lyrical moments on the song that I wouldn't say that I was a huge fan of, like when he said, like, like tension or pressure increases, like khakis, talking about the creases, the inward creases on khaki pants. That it's bars like that to me, while certainly it is clever, it's certainly clever. I wouldn't deny that is clever. Thinking about the tone of the song, thinking about the narrative of the song, it sort of takes the listener out of the mood of the track to basically make a khakis reference. And that's the thing with Eminem. Sometimes it seems like he has no appreciation for making sure that his references, even if he does come up with a clever reference, making sure that his references fit the tone of the song and don't take the listener out of the story or the vibe of the song. To me, that's certainly an example of that. But moving beyond that, there are a lot of beautiful points on this track where Eminem not only reflects on his career, but where he stands as an artist as far as his status goes in the world of hip-hop right now, and also reflecting on basically how his popularity has waned over the years, whether it be through a combination of just the changing sonic landscape or him just not really living up to his own standards, painting himself as someone who is actually pretty insecure, painting himself who is someone who's really kind of a perfectionist to the point where it seems like he's hurting his own creative process. It's stuff like that really kind of makes the song intriguing and, again, sort of gives listeners a different angle of Eminem. There are moments where you hear pages ripping and so on and so forth to kind of add to the narrative of the track, which calls back and reminds me of some recent material from Kendrick. And the very beautiful and piano-based instrumental here, while Eminem has rapped over some glitzy stuff before, there was something about the vibe of the song that read to me as being like a little Macklemore. And that's not to say Eminem is ripping these people off. It's actually something good about Eminem that I think that he's been able to not just kind of hole up in his own little world and instead actually take on some influence and appreciate the newer generation of MCs and the sounds that they're bringing to the table. And, while Eminem certainly could use a bit of a jump start in his career, especially now, he doesn't seem like somebody who is stuck in his ways. It seems like he's still an artist who is willing to progress and is willing to accept change and is willing to kind of give respect to the newer generation, especially the artists who he thinks are, lyrical, especially the artists who he thinks are trying to say something with their music. But, while Eminem does try to adjust, he's going to do it on his own terms. And, while this track was nice, it was cool to sort of see Eminem in a different light this time around. I'm not exactly sure if this is a song I'm really going to want to go back to outside of the context of the album, honestly. Like, for me personally, just as like a general music fan, I just thought the song was okay. Like, it wasn't exciting to me. But if you're a hardcore Eminem fan, I could see yourself really loving this song because it's going to give you something that not a whole lot of other Eminem songs give you. But if you're not that deeply invested in Eminem's personal story, in his progression as an artist, which maybe at one time I was, but it's been a long time since I've cared that much about Eminem's music. And, that's not to say that I think Eminem is not talented or worth listening to anymore. I mean, I thought the last Marshall Mathers LP was pretty good, but how many disappointments did we get up until that point? You know what I mean? So this new Eminem record could be good. And who knows? Maybe this new track will grow on me as I listen to it in the context of the rest of the record, which should be dropping pretty soon. Apparently, it's going to be another installment of sort of the R series, the recovery and relapse and so on and so forth. So it'll be interesting to sort of see if Eminem can actually pull through in that series with a fantastic record, and what the rest of the album will bring. Will it be as serious and as personal in tone as this new cut over here? Not a bad single, not a banger though, but not a bad single at all. And again, interesting to sort of hear Eminem in this light. Let's move on to the tracks that I thought were the worst tracks of the week. Ba-bam! First off, Sia has a new single out titled Snowman. Yes, it's that time of year. We're starting to get the Christmas music. And this new track over here, it's just such a humdrum, average, plain, like nothing interesting going on Christmas song. Like, actually, there's nothing really all that Christmassy about the instrumental tone of the track. Like, I wouldn't have even known it was a Christmas song if not for the cover art and if not for, the references to snowmen, on the hook and the fact that the song is titled Snowman. It's a pretty plain Christmas song, honestly. It does not really get me in the spirit. It's not really that fun, and I don't really think it's one of Sia's best from a writing standpoint either. It's a pretty inconspicuous track, and I don't know, man. I really don't know. Moving on from there, there is a cover song of the Cramps song Garbageman, which is performed by none other than William Shatner. It's going to end up on a new Dr. Demento Covered in Punk compilation, believe it or not. And there's going to be a lot of other artists involved in this whole thing. It's going to be a lot of crazy, silly novelty songs. And yes, while this William Shatner cover is pretty bad, it's kind of one of those it's so bad it's good situations. Like, it's certainly funny. It's certainly entertaining. I wasn't legitimately sitting down and listening to it and unironically enjoying it. It didn't take too long for William to really kind of be out of pace with the instrumental. Which is, kind of one of my biggest gripes with a lot of William Shatner's spoken word music. However, it seemed like he was really giving it his all, and he really tried to be really gruff. He really tried to be really grimy and nasty on the song, and the instrumental does have some bite to it, so I'm not going to completely count this track out, but I'm not really thinking of it as anything more than just a novelty track that's that might get a few other plays from me just for a laugh down the road. Moving on from there, Young Lean has a new track out, which honestly is the first track from this new album cycle that actually disappointed me. The title, Metallic Intuition. And this cut over here is, it's really hollow. It's really kind of lifeless, unfortunately. It kind of runs the same minimal, trap, spacey, melodic vibe that a lot of the other teaser tracks have so far in this new album cycle, but this one in particular just seems like really devoid of anything interesting vocally, lyrically, melodically. This one just really could have gone back to the drawing board, in my opinion. Aesthetically, it's very much in line with the other tracks that have dropped, and that's totally cool. That's totally fine, but there's not a whole lot to it, honestly. It's really kind of empty. Again, I'll use the word hollow. And we're going to move on to the tracks that I thought were meh. Think of it. Tracks that I just thought were okay. Were certainly worth shouting out. I wasn't in love with them, but I definitely wanted to point your attention to them. One, this new Morrissey track, Jacky's Only Happy When She's Up on Stage, which is actually one of the better singles from his forthcoming album so far. Really slow, dramatic rock instrumentation on this one. Morrissey, for the most part, on this track, really kind of making a statement with his lyrics on performance and performing and fame and that sort of thing. It's a nice track. It's a nice track overall. I think it could have used a little bit more in the way of, like, looseness. It did seem a little too clean cut as far as the performance of the instrumental, which was a little lifeless, but really at the end of the day, these tracks and Morrissey's the material that he's been putting out in this leg of his career is really mostly about his lyrics, his vocals, and if you're a hardcore Morrissey fan, you're getting what you expect on this thing, and not much more, not much less. So it's decent. It's a fine track. Lil Kim took us a break. Yes, the new Lil Kim track is actually kind of decent, and I think a lot of people haven't noticed. Lil Kim, if you don't know, is a pretty legendary female MC. Do your research, look into her stuff. I mean, obviously, she doesn't have a whole lot of classic projects under her belt, obviously. However, and it has been a while since we've heard some good stuff from Lil Kim. But having said that, this new track over here kind of fits the mold for a lot of these modern trap bangers with auto-tune vocals and very clean, punchy, hard-hitting production, very dark, kind of moody vibe. Like, she's really kind of playing to the strengths of that style and doing it pretty well. I'm not going to say she's come through with the most original sound, as far as this trend goes, but for somebody who is her age, and I don't mean, to say that you can't make good music at a certain age. What I mean to say is, as an aging artist who, as you would expect, would probably be totally out of touch with this style, out of touch with this sound, she actually approaches it really well. So big respect to her for actually coming through the track. And it's been a while since I've heard a track from her that actually sounds like contemporary and in a good way, like actually on point contemporary, not like a bad, awkward, totally out of touch take on what a contemporary rap song sounds like. So respect Lil Kim on this one. It's actually not a bad cut. Chromeo has a new song out titled Juice, and unfortunately it's just as flaccid and as underwhelming and not quite as sensual as a lot of the cuts that landed on, or it's just as lacking in those things as a lot of the cuts on their last record. I don't know, man. Chromeo, ever since Business Casual, I personally feel like they don't have the juice. I personally do not feel like they have the juice. The vocals are not quite as sexy. The grooves are not quite as irresistible. And I feel like with the whole synth funk thing, while they've come out with some amazing music in the past in that style, and that's their whole shtick, I feel like they've almost painted themselves into a corner with it stylistically, artistically, because they're just really not progressing past it. And as a result, I feel like things are just kind of stagnating a little bit. And I don't know, it just kind of sounds like a bit of a novelty act at this point. I really don't know. I feel like some of Chromeo's best stuff could go toe-to-toe with some of the best synth funk music that dropped in the 80s. And now it seems like they're just kind of, I don't know, just keeping the torch lit because they don't have any other option. But I'm not really into this new track, sadly. It's okay. It's not the worst thing I've heard this year, but it's just not really getting me in the mood. Best tracks, the tracks that blew me away this week, tracks that I really enjoyed. Let's get into it. Ooh, this new track from Oneida. And it's been a while since I've heard a song from these guys that really kind of stopped me in my tracks. Now, if you didn't know them, they're an experimental rock band who, really honestly, album to album, you don't know what direction they're going to go in. And with this new track over here, God, wild lead vocals, fast, quick, punky, heavy guitars, sounds like a little Melvin's influence, but sort of a little no-wave influence too. It's really all over the place. It's really nutty. It's really insane. It's so bold. It's really freaky. And I don't know, I'm just excited to hear what the band is going to be doing lately, because it seems like they're really kind of just revving the engine up for something pretty cool here. The title of this song over here is titled Town Crier. And highly recommended. It's full of energy, it's full of aggression, and it's really eccentric. It's really off the wall. So shout out to these guys for coming out with a, experimental rock banger this week. Next, Kimbra, Top of the World. Kimbra's last album, I thought, left a lot to be desired. There were some really bland tracks on there, and unfortunately, the record did not end up as eccentric as I kind of anticipated that it would be. This new track over here, however, kind of throws in like a lot of primal percussion. Like, it kind of reminds me of like a fruitier, more upbeat Fever Ray. Of course, like, self-titled debut Fever Ray. It's really cerebral. It's really groovy. Her lead vocals on the track are really awesome. It just sounds like the influences are coming from all across the world. It's got a very international sort of vibe to it. And it only helps that Kimbra's lead vocals on the track are fantastic. The hook is great. The song is structured and produced really well. All around, it's just a great song. Definitely one of the best pop tracks I've heard this week. Next, Girlfriend of the Year, or GFOTY, the PC Music Camp is back at it with a new track, the track titled Poison/Tongue. And this is easily one of the most experimental tracks that I've heard out of PC Music and out of Girlfriend of the Year. It's got elements of punk in it, of experimental electronic music. It's got elements of, just like the weird electronic bubblegum bass style that you typically get out of PC Music. It's really all over the place, and it's kind of like a multifaceted track. It's insane. But yet it's also catchy and exciting. So I don't know what else to say, man. Like, the weirdness of this song is kind of beyond words, so I'm just going to kind of leave it at that and just urge you guys to try it, because it is that crazy, it is that insane, and it has a lot of flavor and a lot of character. I'll leave it at that. Next, and I think this is actually the last track. Yeah, this is the last song. Rich Chigga featuring 21 Savage, Crisis. The people at 88 Rising come through with a new single over here, and this is actually a pretty nice song. And 21 Savage and Rich Chigga is not a bad pairing at all, because Savage has a pretty laid-back, cold-blooded, low-key style, so does Rich Chigga, and they happen on this instrumental that has a very dark, sort of moody beginning, but then when the chorus pops in, it like blossoms in this really beautiful melodic way. It kind of switches moods in a way when the hook comes in, and I like that a lot. I like how they can kind of introduce these melodies and just totally change the emotion of the track just in a second. And I don't know, that because of that, it just kind of has like a sort of unique flavor to me. And flows are decent. It's 21 Savage. You can't expect too much out of him, but again, that's just kind of his aesthetic, to just play it as minimally as possible. And if you want to hear a very melodic, minimal, moody, beautiful, but also kind of cold-blooded rap track, don't miss out on this single. Probably my favorite rap single of the week, hands down. And that's going to be it, guys. Those were the best, the meh, and the worst tracks of the week, and spoke on the new Eminem Single 2. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I thought it was okay. Thought it was decent. And again, hit up those Amazon and Turntable Lab links down there in the description to support the segment and support the channel. And I will see you guys in the next one. That has been the weekly track roundup. You're the best. You're the best. You're the best. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out, or you can click on the link to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one. Forever.